Hello, and I have a treat for you today. It's Petra Foster, the Queen of Supported Living, and we are going to be interviewing one of my previous clients who has managed to scale his company, his supported living company, from 0 to 8 in just 3 years. So welcome, and Adrian.
Hello,
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, it's good to be on the show, and
I'm
yeah,
I'm so excited to speak to you because we met at a networking event, didn't we, in 2020?
we did
And
2019.
2019.
Yeah, November 2019 now.
Wow. Do you remember what happened? How did we meet? What happened?
Yeah, it was a property event, and Petra had stood up at the front, completely different to anything that was being spoken about, and she started speaking about supported living. Now, I'd heard about supported living; it was something that I wanted to get into. Um, and I just thought, what are the chances? Went up to Petra during one of the breaks and exchanged contact details, and then started working with you about 2 days later on the Monday. Um, and I haven't looked back since. So yeah, it's coming up to 4 years ago now.
Is it 4 years ago? And how old was he then?
I had just turned 18 um, at that time, and I've just turned 22 today. So
Oh, it's today's birthday.
yeah, it is.
Oh, I didn't even realize happy birthday.
Thank you. But yeah, so yeah, coming up to 4 years ago now.
One thing I loved about you from the start, like I never ever treated you like you were young or a teenager. I just treated you like you're a businessman that wanted to start a supported living business. And what I loved about you, Adrian, is just that you have this quiet confidence, this like self-assured go-getter without kind of speaking about how you're doing it or what you're doing. That's what I really admire about you. So right now we had a conversation because your mom actually, I was in a how we connected was that I was in a Facebook group and you I posted a post about supported living. And then your mom actually said how much I helped her son. So I was like, well, who's her son? And she's like, Adrian. I was like, oh my God, I've been thinking about him. Let me call him. And this is how we've now arranged to have this interview. On that phone call, you blew me away where you shared that you made you make right now £140,000 per month revenue.
Yeah, well, 155,000 as of this weekend now. So yeah, no, definitely a blessed position to be in. So
I
yeah,
stand corrected. So let's take us back to the beginning then in 2019. So you came to work with me. I want you to kind of share how it was working with me and then how you kind of got your first property, your first service users, and how you scaled from there.
yeah, of course. So when we began working, we began by having our weekly calls, and then well during the week as well, any updates that came about, we'd share and you know, and I know I came to you a lot, especially in the beginning, when it was, we're trying to find a property. Okay, what do we do with CQC? Should we do Ofsted policies? There was so much that, we had to digest and learn, and we wanted to learn very quickly and learn it all well. Um, and I think it was probably about 4 to 6 weeks in, that's when we'd pretty much had the brand created, and we were ready to really start speaking to local authorities. Um, and it was a journey. It was a journey, to be fair. It wasn't easy. I think, especially in the beginning, I felt like we were a bit shy. Oh, we sent 2 emails this week, and now I always say you got to be sending at least two a day. So yeah, and I remember you'd always push us like hard, and it was from what I remember it being a tough love, definitely in the beginning. But it's what got us there, and I remember it was around um, March time, after just, hammering at the local authorities, trying to get our name out there, that we actually received correspondence from one of the commissioning managers. And I remember the first feeling was a feeling of excitement, and then I realized, oh, what do I do now? And then I remember you came on the call with me, and I think Jessica was on the call as well. Um, and the call went really well. And I just remember having, a mental note of that call and just how you spoke and, how you carried yourself in that call. And, I think it's the little details, that I picked up from you, which has helped us, for the last 3 years. And it wasn't an easy journey, because after that call, we essentially had started building that relationship with that local authority. And then at that point, it was time to get the property, which was, yeah, it wasn't easy at all. It wasn't easy at all.
I
You know,
remember. Did you have a property and it fell through or something? Tell us about how you got your first property.
yeah. The so I, when we were looking for the property, there was a property that we had been basically referred to a landlady by someone that I'd known, and we were maybe a couple of days from signing contracts, and then they just said not interested anymore. And this is like maybe 6 weeks from conversations being had, explaining what we do, what our plan is. And then yeah, a couple of days before contract signing, bang, property's gone. And another friend referred me to a lady who worked at estate agents. And then we got a property, but with no viewing. They said you either take it, without viewing it, and which we did. And when we got to this property, it was in a state. Yeah, it was just yeah. That in itself was the next part of the journey, getting it ready, which took about 8 weeks. Again, a lot of investment was made, to making sure that the property was ready.
How much?
Yeah,
How much do you spend on that? Because I'm
yeah,
asking the question because I always get emails and messages of people asking me how much money do you need to start this business?
yeah,
And I like to be honest with people about things because you do need to have startup capital for this.
definitely, definitely, yeah. So, I mean, the lease itself was £850 a month, which in today's market is an absolute steal.
Is
Um, yeah, so the lease itself was £850 a month. Obviously, you've got your 2 months deposit as well. And then to actually get the property ready, I'm going to say we were lucky that the landlord covered the costs to changing the carpets and painting the property, and then we only had to pay about £1,500. But then furnishing the property, making sure that it was fire safe, and it had all the things that the local authorities would be looking for when they're doing their quality assurance audits. I'd say that cost us another, um, I'd say £3,500. However, I wouldn't say that. I'd say a total of about £7,000 to £8,000 was spent on getting the property ready, but that wasn't the total cost of starting the business, because we had that property for a while. I think it was maybe 13 months, and we just had to. You have to have faith, and know that eventually, you know, you will be operating. You will get your opportunity to look after, the people that we do support. So, in that sense, the costs were a lot more than the £6,000, 7,000. However, um, business is business. You always have to look at it from a return on investment point of view. Um, Anything worth having, doesn't come easy, it doesn't come cheap, but
It doesn't. And I'm glad you mentioned that because this is the reality of things when it comes to supported living.
yeah,
Because yes, you can have a contract with the local authority. Yes, you can have a great relationship with the local authority. Yes, you can have your property. But at the same time, we don't have any power as to when we're going to get our first service user. We don't.
yeah,
And I remember when I first started out in 2019, it took me 6 months just to get paid from the local authority, to get paid rent and to get paid care costs as well. So that's what I mean. So I'm really glad that we're sharing the reality of what supported living is, because that's the reason why I want people to come to this channel, because we're
yeah.
telling you really as it is. We're not sugarcoating anything. Do you see what I mean?
Oh,
But how did you keep that faith then of like knowing that you're paying for this and you were still waiting for your first referral? How did you keep that faith?
yeah. I mean, he- personally, I mean, I'm a man of faith, so um, it's important just to always believe and believe that good things will come to you anyway. However, looking at it from a logical business point of view, most businesses aren't generating income within 1, 2, 3 months of, the incorporation date.
Mhm.
And if they are, they're unicorns. You you never see that. Even the biggest companies, they didn't generate any revenue for years. Um, and I'm not saying that it's like that in supported living because it's not. And we're actually fortunate that it doesn't take 3, 4 years to start generating revenue in the sector. However, yeah, it might take you 12 months, you know, and it might take you another 3 to 6 months before your first invoice is paid. And that's what, you know, as you've mentioned, you experience and we experience, but it's just understanding the fundamentals of business. Um, and, just sticking true to that. As long as you're, you know, constantly making yourself known. Um, you know, it, it's not an industry that has, marketing in the typical sense, but it's a people business. It's a people-based business, and the local authorities want to know who are they dealing with. At the end of the day, you can say you're gonna provide, what's the cliche, person-centered care and all of the same jargon that everyone puts in the statement of purpose, which is fine, but they want to know you. What is your character like? How do you know how do you intend on providing service? Do you give up after 3 weeks because you've not been given, the opportunity to take on a referral? They want to know that the companies that are here, that they're in it for the long run. And yeah, so that's how we kept our faith. It wasn't easy, you're you're working a job, to basically take all that money and um essentially, you know, not necessarily throw it away, but just to keep, the opportunity alive. Actually, I put it that way, yeah, just to keep the opportunity alive, and you have to make that sacrifice. There's no holidays, there's no nice clothes,
To begin
and
with, there isn't.
to begin with, yeah, and there's no fancy dinners and all of that sort of stuff. But it's up to you, if you want that sort of thing now and you want to do it once every few months, that's fine. But you have to make the sacrifice, and then eventually, you'll be having the fancy dinners, having business conversations with Petra, or whatever it may be. So, it, yeah, you just have to understand that you have to make a sacrifice, and but just always have faith. They can't ignore you forever. That's what I say.
Tell us how you got your. In fact, tell us who your demographic is in terms of your service users, and how did you get your first referral?
Of course. So we look after young people aged 16 to 18 at the moment, and that's where we started off as well. again, so as mentioned, we had the initial meeting with the commissioner manager from that local authority yourself. And then the process of that was, do you have a property? Get the property, you know, uh, fill in the quality assurance forms. Do you have everything that the property needs? Yeah, great. And then once you're put onto their list of approved providers, um, the referrals start coming in, and you have to just, put in your offers, submit them, and wait, to hear back from them. And I mean, what we learned as time went on was also looking for example, the social workers of, the young people, and trying to contact them directly and finding out more information about them, and just building rapport that way, rather than just sending in an offer, um, as well. And we learned that about a year and a bit in, and that's how we got our first referral. So it was actually us seeing a referral come in, looked for the social worker's details, contacted the social worker directly, who then was able to go to the head of commissioning, um, and get the sign off. And I just remember that weekend that it was, we had the meeting on the 3rd of October 2021. I just remember the whole weekend thinking, there's no way it was that easy. But at the same time, maybe it was timing. Maybe, that was the right moment. Maybe if it would happen any sooner, you know, who knows? But that's essentially how our first referral came in, and how we started looking for our first young person.
Who
Um,
who's actually the registered manager for your service?
so my mum, yeah, my mum's a registered manager, so she had experience in working with children, not necessarily within a residential, um, uh, you know, home, but in CAMS wards and whatnot. So she understands the complexities that we face. And then now we've, got two of our RMs and an RI as well, who's very well versed in the sector. So yeah,
At the time when you set up your business, you didn't need to be Ofsted registered. So where do you stand now with that?
yeah. So the in April 2023, there was a new Ofsted uh, application. I guess that was only for support accommodation. So now we've submitted our application, and we're just waiting for the visit. So I think that's just because even though local authorities were, conducting the quality assurance audits, it was still, heavily unregulated, the sector. So now it's going to be regulated by Ofsted. We're still to see how it's going to go, as there's so many more supported accommodation providers, than residential children's home providers. But hopefully it would raise the standards of, the sector, and yeah, hopefully, it kind of weeds out the companies that are not really in it to um, support, the children and young people support. So,
Did you say that you're also going to be doing an Ofsted registration for children's homes as well?
yeah, that's correct. So
So can you share can you share the difference between a children's home and supported accommodation for young people?
yeah, I think the simplest way to separate the two is that residential children's home are regulated to look after anyone who's aged below 16, and support accommodation providers can't look after um, children that are aged below 16. Um, I'd say that's the simplest explanation. And I would say that a lot of the time, when you're looking after children below 16, you basically have more time to nurture them, and help them grow into, that, and help them grow into that path of semi-independence. Whereas when you're only operating within the support accommodation sector, you're relying on what their life was like before 16, and you're essentially trying to nurture them from there, which is still great because we've had great experiences, and we've seen some amazing turnarounds with the young people that we do look after. But we would like to also offer both. It's just a business, so if we can start nurturing them from a younger age, that would be the main aim as well.
Tell us about how many. So you've got 8 properties right now, you say?
So right now we've got 11 properties. 8 of them are operating as supported accommodation homes. 3 are going to be residential children's homes. So 2 of them, the 3 residential children's homes all have planning. 2 of them are going to be on an application as a multi-home application, so they're going to be registered together. And then for the 3rd home, we're waiting to see if we can acquire the home next door to that, so we can put that as a multi-home application as well. That's where we're at.
How many staff do you have?
Do
you know?
I'd say on a month-to-month basis, we might have between 35 and 45 staff members, working for us, which, yeah.
How is that? How is it managing staff? And do you manage them, or is it the registered managers that manage them?
Well, I think we're in a blessed position to kind of say that the team that we do have, they manage our staffing team. So we still feel the stress of it, especially with recruitment. So we're heavily involved in recruitment still. I'm heavily involved in recruitment. But the registered manager and our operations and RI, they do pull their weight in making sure that, all the staff are, working in the way they should be, and that we do have the correct staff members in each homes. But I would say it definitely does get harder after I'd say after this 3rd home. That's when it really becomes an operation, and it's just, I think in this sector, maybe I'd say your biggest issue after home 3 is actually staff. And I'd say that's really where you spend most of your time, and making sure that you get cultivating a culture to support the service users, but also making sure that they are working in the correct ways, which it's not easy, but it is fun. It is fun. It's great.
It isn't easy, especially when you have to terminate a contract. Have you done that yet?
A staff member's contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was hard because it was actually someone who to this day is still a good friend of mine, but it was a difficult thing to do, and I think that's when I realized that it's no longer a game anymore.
The business has to come first. The well-being of the service users have to come first.
Yeah. So and since then, we've had to let a few go.
So as a director, what is your role, and how many hours a week do you spend in your business?
So I think my role has changed a lot, and it continues to evolve. I'd say for most of the journey, my role was, being involved in staffing, setting up the homes, making sure that the homes were in like great, nick. Basically, paperwork was good. I'd say paperwork was definitely something that I was helped with, definitely by our RM and my business partner. So, but definitely just making sure that the homes are in good nick. I actually enjoyed spending time with the service users. So I spent a lot of time doing that, which should you as a director, who knows? But I enjoyed doing that just because they are young people, and I feel like we're able to have a little bit more influence because we're of similar age. So I did spend a lot of time, with the service users. Now, I still, try and see the service user at least once or twice a month. But we spend a lot of time in making sure that um, we have the seats filled in, for roles that we basically need. And that's difficult, especially right now. You're trying to hire RMs, and it's very competitive right now. And just making sure that operationally you've got the right team in place as well. Um, and then after looking at that sort of thing, we actually are spending a lot of time looking at companies that we want to acquire as well and merge with our own. So we spend a good amount of our time doing that, and just financial planning, making sure that we've got enough capital to grow the business, and growing it correctly. Uh, it's all well and good reinvesting into the business, but you could be reinvesting into areas that just aren't going to give you any return in terms of time or support for your staff, like, or capital. So yeah, definitely, I'd say I'm not sure how many hours we work per week, but every day I'd say we spend about 2.5 hours, um, in terms of, recurring tasks. And then anything that pops up, whether it's meetings and whatnot, um, then, I mean, that's not every day, so that changes on a weekly basis. But um, yeah, and we still get involved with the service user meetings as well, just so we know what's actually going on within the homes, and it's a lot easier to support the staff that way. So say
So
that's
you said that you're planning now to acquire new businesses and scale. Is that supported living businesses, or is that children's homes, or something different?
supported living businesses, children's homes, yeah, and in I'd say more a future that's further down the line. Eventually, we'll move into the elderly care home sector, which is quite different from what we're in right now. So, and the reason why we're pushing that a few years down the line is so that we can spend the time understanding the sector. But for now, it's supported living businesses, children's homes, um, essentially that have really good staffing teams. Don't have to necessarily be profitable, but they've got good staffing teams and good values, good fundamentals, and yeah, we're always interested.
What would you say? Because I get like so many emails, so many DMs about starting this business. And I know that it takes a certain type of character to actually continue with this business. Because, I have mentored people who have not opened like at all. Not because I share the exact same information that I shared with you and that I share with my clients, but they just don't follow through. What character do you think that you need in order to follow through and to be successful at this business?
Um, stress management is so important. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Um, you, you have to be able to keep a cool head, because I'll be honest, it is a stressful, business to run. And that's not to scare anyone away from it, because you do reap the rewards as well. It's an enjoyable business. It's not You're not sat at home all day on the computer, you know, going through spreadsheets. You're interacting with people. So I say stress management is important. Also, understanding where you are. from a financial perspective. I'd say that's quite important when you're starting off. So just understanding what the startup costs are. And I'd say, risk. Um, are you willing to take the risk? A lot of us will take out car finance and we won't bat an eyelid. Well, if it's a business loan, that's not guaranteed. But I, I don't know. I guess I'm just looking at it from my own point of view. And I also understand that, when I started this business, I was young, um, no family, like no children and whatnot. However, I I dropped out of college. I didn't go to uni, so my risk was if it didn't go too well, yes, I still have many years, ahead of me, but um, I know that I would have struggled to kind of turn back and say, okay, let me go to uni and start again. But then there are people that I do know that have families, children, and have started this business and are thriving. So I don't think using that as an excuse is valid, to be honest. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not valid at all, and I'm not hearing it out, to be honest. If anyone tries to use that as an excuse, so I'd say, you know, eh, what 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 do you really want for your life? Ask yourself that. That's important as well. If you want just, ease of knowing that every month, you know, you go to work and get your wages paid and whatnot. And yeah, because entrepreneurship's not for everyone as well. So, also understand that, can you handle the stress of, hmm, um, I have to go to work and I have to fund the business at the same time. And then when the business is running, you know, for the first few months, I can't really pay myself, a great wage. I just have to, it's just my bills and that's it. Um, can you handle that? So these are all the questions that you kind of have to ask yourself and ask, can you handle that? And also, when things do become stressful, can you be creative? I think that's one that not many people speak about. You do have to be creative in how you problem solve as well. So, you don't have to be smart, but you just have to try and think outside the box, and you learn that by, having mentors, speaking to people, reading books, business books. YouTube is free. Um, there's just so much out there to help you like navigate through the business world. But definitely stress management, uh, understanding your appetite for risk, and how much do you want it really? I'd say.
I completely agree with everything. And because I always ask people, what do you want? How do you want to live? What lifestyle do you want? Because ultimately, having a business is to support your lifestyle. So, what kind of lifestyle do you want? Where do you want to live? What type of house do you want to live in? What type of car? How many holidays? Where do you want your children to go to school? These are all the things that you're going to have to ask yourself. And then, are you going to be ready to sacrifice for it could be 6 months, it could be 12 months. Are you ready to sacrifice that in order to get what you want? And that's important. And I've really enjoyed this conversation, Adrian, because you spoke about the realities of it. It can take time to get a property. It does cost to get your property up to the correct standards. It can take time to get your first service user, but you know what? You did it because you have grit, and that's something that I always speak about. You got to have grit. You even said this business is about relationships, and you have to build them. And what I love about Adrian is, like, I'm not taking any credit for the fact that Adrian now makes 155,000 pounds revenue a month. No, all I done was show you just the setup, the structure, the basics. You did everything. You did everything because, as you said, because of your mindset and because you wanted it. Do you see what I mean? And that's what I really love about you, because some people think that you have to do it for them, but it's not. That's not. As a mentor, I give you the information, I support you with what you need to, but you still have to have that growth mindset, which you do. So thank you so
Thank,
much, Adrian, for this time.
thank you, thank you. Yeah. And I would say for anyone who is watching, um, first step, find a mentor. I'm sitting in front of one right now. Um, and yeah, don't expect to be babied along the way. It's not going to help you in the long term. But yeah, find a mentor, someone just to, push you and get you started, and yeah, just maintain a strong mindset. Just believe, just believe.
Just believe. So we're going to end it there. Thank you so much. Now, if you want to set up your CQC registered supported living service, just send me an email at petra@petrafoster.com. You can also find me on Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time, which is petrafoster_. And you can book a consultation with me at petrafoster.com. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Now I can't even find a button to end the video to end.